So in today's video, I want to talk about the idea of not forcing things and just allowing them to happen in their own good time, in their own good way, as opposed to going in with conscious willpower and trying to find the solution by forcing it, by pushing it, and by grinding and so on. And I also want to talk about a very specific example of this in my life that happened recently where I relinquished control and great things happened as a result of that. So yeah, let's hop into it. But firstly, about me, I used to be very much a control freak. I had to be in charge consciously of things. I had to make sure that I was managing things from a conscious perspective. If I did not understand something, especially when it came to Japanese learning a few years ago, I would go in and try to figure it out no matter how long it took, because in my eyes, that was how to live. And that's also the way that we are kind of encouraged to live, at least in the US, right? Pushing things, solving things, going in and never giving up, right? That's oftentimes what we are taught in our culture nowadays. But the older I've gotten, the more I've started to realize that perhaps this is very much a backwards principle, because from my experience, the more I pushed in life, the worse things became, right? And even Isaac Newton says, every action is met with an equal and opposite reaction, right? And so, yeah, oftentimes whenever I would use force, I would start to notice that the results would get worse and worse and worse whenever I would use my conscious mind to try and force things to happen. And conversely, I would notice that when I dropped everything and just relinquished control and just entered flow state, as they call it, things would just happen a lot more naturally and a lot more beautifully. And I want to share one such example of that happened recently, which was, I think, about a week or so ago now. And so basically what had happened was I was going to go hang out with a friend and get some all-you-can-eat sushi, which I was, really excited for. And before that, though, I had to do my laundry. And I could not find my laundry card, right? I went to go reach for it, only to find out that I didn't know where I'd put it. So I started rummaging around the place. I tore the entire place inside out for about 30 minutes trying to find it, really freaking out and getting really frustrated to the point where I was getting really angry over this. I'm like, where is that fucking card? And I was running out of time. I, in fact, even told my friend, okay, we might have to push this back a little bit because I'm not going to make it. And he said, all right, just let me know. And so I kept on looking. I looked everywhere I could possibly think, and that fucking card just didn't show up. So I said to myself, all right, you know what? Just in a moment of clarity, I just said to myself, all right, I've had it with this. I am not going to continue looking. If it shows up, it's going to show up by itself. Otherwise, I am not going to look for it ever again. And even if I never find it because I accidentally threw it out or, left it in the laundry room or something like that, I'm just going to get a new one because this is not worth my time or me stressing out over it. So I just dropped it completely. I told my friend, actually on second thought, let's just go hang out at the time that we originally designated, and I'm just going to have a good time. And so that's exactly what I did. I went out that night and had all-you-can-eat sushi with my friend. It was a really great time. I ended up back at home, and, around 1 to 2 in the morning, I was just in the kitchen going through some stuff, and boom, there was the laundry card right there. And so, this is something that I think a lot of people may have experienced if you're listening to this with your car keys, with, something that you may have lost besides that. And I just started living like this, actually. And I also forgot to mention I did visualize holding the card in my hand before leaving for sushi that night with my friend as well. I forgot to add that aspect into the story. I visualized holding it, and I just pretended that I had found it. But yeah, I'm sure a lot of you guys have experienced something very similar to this, where the more you search, the more you press, the worse things get. But then when you take a step back, everything just works itself out in divine timing. And so this is a really, really beautiful story, in my opinion, because it just shows that things will happen, right? And if I had just not gotten worked up in the first place, I could have just waited a few hours and it would have just shown up anyway, right? But every single time I went in, it just got worse and worse. Every single time I kept pushing to find the card, I kept getting myself angrier and angrier, filling my head with negative thoughts, and I still didn't get the card anyway. And even if I had found the card, what would I have lost to have gotten the card? I would have lost my temper. I would have made myself really worked up, and for reasons that could have just been prevented had I just relinquished control and just allowed it to show up by itself anyway, right? And so this is something that I am starting to try and apply in my life in many aspects, which is that I try my best nowadays not to control things. I just allow them to happen whenever they can, however they can. And I just I just am, right? I don't go out and try to force something to happen, because I very much do believe in the idea of inspired action, the idea of taking the right actions at the right times, not forcing things. And this is a complete 180 to how I used to live my life, but I'm starting to notice that I'm a lot more at peace when I do this, because I'm no longer stressed out about various things that are potentially out of my conscious control, right? So I just wanted to share this little story with you guys to kind of encourage you to perhaps explore this idea of living as well, which is just going with the flow, right? Allowing things, not pushing too hard, right? When things push back, just taking a step back and just living your life, enjoying yourself, doing things that make you happy, and then just, reaping your rewards when the time is right. And so, yeah, I just wanted to share this with you guys. Hopefully you found it fun to listen to, and or entertaining or informative. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Peace.